The crucial bilateral meeting between the leaders of the world's biggest democracies, US President Joe Biden and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, meeting in the White House. The two leaders also held a media interaction before heading inside for those bilateral discussions. The Biden-Modi camaraderie was on full display throughout the press briefing. The leaders shared a light-hearted banter about the Biden surname and recollected their last meetings from earlier in 2014 and 2016. Apart from those light-hearted moments, the leaders also spoke about their appreciation for each other and the strong relationship between India and the US. The talks are expected to be centered around the COVID-19 crisis, climate action, the Quad summit discussions that are to take place. There are expectations on the talks about trade and technology, the shared interests and common goals of the two sides expected to further enhance the cooperation and partnership. And with us on the broadcast, it's Patsy with the Kosfara. She's joining us from the White House. She's the White House correspondent of our broadcast partner, Voice of America. Hi, Patsy. We have been playing out for our viewers those images from inside the White House. You were present right there as well. Give us a sense of what was happening in the room. What are you picking up from those discussions? And give us a better sense of what the mood was like inside.
Well, there's certainly, as you say, a lot of warmth and a lot of camaraderie. President Joe Biden called Prime Minister Modi his friend. And when he began his remarks, he said that when I showed Prime Minister Modi to his seat, I pointed out that almost every other day that seat is occupied by an Indian American, obviously referring to Vice President Kamala Harris and her Indian heritage. So there's definitely a lot of good chemistry among the two leaders. But let me point out that there was also a lot of very good and very warm chemistry between Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump. You will remember that very warm arm hug, if you will, a couple of years ago, as well as the fact that President Donald Trump attended the Howdy Modi event in Texas. This is an Indian American diaspora event a couple of years ago. So very clearly, India is playing a very strong game in terms of relating well both with Democratic administration now as well as Republican administration. So yes, it was a warm meeting to start. It lasted about 20 minutes. At least that's the portion that the press was able to witness. And the reason why I was looking behind me just now was to see whether or not the Indian delegation is leaving. As of now, they're still at the White House. We are not informed yet what time they'll be leaving or whether they'll be leaving or will just stay throughout until the Quad summit that is scheduled in about 2 hours from now, 1.5 hours from now.
Absolutely. The India-US alliance and partnership has been dubbed as the alliance of the century by some. Patsy, explain to our viewers the significance of this partnership, how this meeting is being looked at in the United States, and how much of this was visible in that meeting between the two leaders right now.
Certainly, senior administration officials underline that this is a very important and a very strategic partnership in the Indo-Pacific region. India is, of course, a strong and big player in terms of containing China's ambition in the region, and the United States is very aware of that fact. To the point that at this meeting, as well as the previous briefings coming towards the meeting, there is no mention at all, for example, in terms of India's human rights record. As you know, the issues of human rights records are very important to democratic administrations, but whether it's violations against freedom of the press or against non-Hindu nationals, this has not been mentioned at all. So it's very much downplayed. So this is perhaps a price that the Biden administration is willing to accept in terms of building a stronger and deeper relationship with the goal of containing China. Now, the Quad summit, of course, is one security dialogue where the U.S. and India, as well as Japan and Australia, are trying to deepen their relationship, not just in terms of climate change, as well as pandemic recovery. The deliverable that we're all waiting for is whether or not India will be able to produce up to 1 billion doses of vaccine by the end of 2022, with a backing financially from the U.S. as well as Japan, as well as a couple of other cooperation, including cybersecurity, emerging technologies, including 5G, as well as securing supply chains for semiconductors.
Right. Speaking of which, the all-important Quad summit is to follow these bilateral discussions, Patsy. To what extent do we expect a leap? And this is a meeting that is being watched very closely by Beijing. It has already reacted even before the talks began. What do we expect the U.S. to prioritize as far as the Quad summit is concerned?
Well, right now, the two big issues are climate change as well as pandemic recovery. The U.S. is relying very much on India to deliver its goal to help vaccinate the world. The non-stated goal is 70% of the world population being vaccinated by the end of next year. India is, of course, one of the biggest vaccine producer, and India will be expected to deliver the commitment that was signed in May, forgive me, by the virtual Quad summit. And just the fact that this is under the pandemic still, and the fact that the four leaders as well as their delegations is meeting in person, that's a big signal. If you would notice in the pictures coming out of the Oval Office today, the two leaders are also taking pains to show that we are still indeed under the pandemic. President Joe Biden only taking off his mask while he's speaking and then putting it back on when Prime Minister Modi is speaking, and vice versa. So this is an important meeting, especially happening under the situation that the world's still in. And there's a lot of expectations, and we'll see what the deliverables are coming out from the White House today.
Right, Patsy, let's also talk about the shadow of AUKUS as far as the Quad meeting is concerned. To what extent do we expect the AUKUS row to impact the Quad discussions? The U.S. has already sought to reassure its partners that the AUKUS alliance will not be impacting its partnership with other world leaders.
Yes, that's correct. And that's something that a senior administration official told reporters yesterday ahead of the Quad summit. They're saying that these two groupings, these two dynamics, AUKUS and the Quad, are two separate things. They do not negate or they do not lessen the meaning of one another. So if you can see it broadly, it's just a matter of the United States trying to put its eggs in as many baskets as possible in the Indo-Pacific region in terms of containing China. Now, I want to go back to your earlier question about how Beijing is viewing all of this, which I apologize I did not address earlier. Well, certainly China is not happy. I mean, even though nobody's mentioning China by name, but this is very clear, designed to contain China. And Beijing is essentially saying, you know, why are you still doing this? Why are you still in this Cold War mentality, so to speak?
All right, Patsy with the Koswara, the Chief White House correspondent for our broadcast partner WIOA, getting us up to speed.